Hello my fellow hunters and welcome to the Monster Hunter Wilds version 1.0 Elemental Switch X, including off-meta Elemental Switch Axis breakdown and also Elemental versus Raw Switch X comparison video. So in the past years, in the past Monster Hunter games, I always made first separate videos about best Raw Switch X and splitted this into a lot of other different videos, but this time I just wanna make it a little bit more shorter version and just include a lot more into a more shorter video, and then later maybe if I have more free time, because the next title update and also the stream is just 4 days around the corner, so I just want to finish this video before the new update comes. And yes, in this video I'm showing you how much amount of elemental damage this weapon do, how is the ratio between the physical and the elemental damage. Yeah, so it's on your own decision to play off meta or what else, because of diversity. And okay, I just I think the best, I also want to mention about, yes, my squad, so I can also put a code into the description or comments so you can join the squad. Currently under yet I didn't I only showed the code to my Discord members, but if you want you can join the hunting squad. I didn't include very specific elemental or armor set skills. I always use the same armor set to compare the weapons better with the same conditions. And yes, next thing is, this video is not about the armor sets themselves, it's just focus, the main focus should be which weapons are the strongest, and these are like the optimal decos. You can also use other decos, it's just as reference. And if you wanna have a better explanation for the skills I've picked, you can check out the spreadsheet. It's a little bit more detailed in the spreadsheet than on my videos, or you can just check Monster Hunter Math episode 82 for Thunder Element about the Fulgor Switch X, episode 83 for the Ice Switch X's. So I compared every single elemental switch X in this game together. Episode 85 for water, 86 for fire, and 87 for dragon switch X. And now I am making a short summary. Just wanna mention that I always use the same set, which is currently meta. I'm also showing you it in game. Yes, it is here. It is Fulgor head with Orc-Welt chest, Fulgor arms, and Gore waist and legs. I'm also using Counter-Strike on my sets, as you can see. Level 1 burst, level 1 of Await Extender, which is in my opinion absolutely necessary. Antivirus maxed out, Maximum Might maxed out, Counter-Strike maxed out, like I said. Agitator level 3. Weakness Exploit level 3, and also I assume to get everywhere at least 50 hits of White Sharpness, and also Power Prolonger depending on the file type. Power files always need 3 levels of Power Prolonger. Elemental files only need like 1 or 2 levels, and the Dragon file doesn't need Power Prolonger at all. So I think the first, yes, so I talked about the skills. These are also mentioned here. About the uptime, maximum might is 85% of the Fulgor set, which without Fulgor set you have like 50% uptime, and now it increases uptime. Also, the other uptimes are grabbed from Dreaming Suntide's videos, which he used. And Counter-Strike I used 100% because in my Counter-Strike video, which meanwhile got 1000 views, I got a lot of comments which say it's very easy to keep up the uptime, so I just used for the calculation 100% of Counter-Strike level 3, which is like must skill for Switch X because you can trigger it very easy with the counter. First of all, I'm showing you the best possible raw set, so which is also used in speedruns and other stuff, which I have currently equipped. For this set, you just need, give me a second. This one, the Mundus Altus ARTIAN Switch X, and you're going to look at 3 times attack infusion, and on the reinforcement bonus 1 times sharpness, and also the rest is attack boost. You can also watch Streaming Suntine's video. He made a comparison between attack and affinity, and he says attack is every time better than affinity. So you should always go to attack because it's longer than it's a lot better than crit. Yes, so this is the best possible combination for the pure raw switch X, which is with paralysis combined. If you want, you can go a little bit more into paralysis or just go more into raw. So this is a pure raw set to make the best possible comparison. On this pure raw switch X is power prolonger free because it is absolutely necessary for power file. 1 level of handicraft, so we read 50 hits of white sharpness, or 40 hits if I'm not wrong. Critical Jewel level 3 and Critical Jewel 2. This is best possible DPS combination. You can also use Handicraft level 3 or Power 3, but yes, it was just made for calculation to get most critical boost as possible to compare the weapons better. I didn't talk about the normal final elemental switch X's again because I did it in the previous videos. Now the best possible combinations for the ARTIAN elemental switch X. It's just made for, didn't want to talk too much about it, maybe in separate video. Yes, from the raw weapon you get stats, which is 225 through raw with 5% affinity, 80 paralysis. And for the elemental switch X you get 205 raw with 5% affinity and 540 element. 40 base, and with elemental attack 3 it's 540 element. Currently not including crit element, but maybe do it later in a separate video. Now about the rolls, it is element type and then just go for 3 times attack infusion, and on the reinforcement bonus sharpness boost like always, and then the rest is element boost. Yeah, and so you get ending up 400 element. For the deckers, element attack / handicraft and enhancer / handicraft. This is very comfy to play, and you get 50 hits of white sharpness, and also critical true level for all level 3, so I have still critical boost level 3. So this is a very comfy set. It is very heavy on elemental damage. It does like 25% elemental damage. All the other switch X's only did like 8 up to 15% of elemental damage. So if a monster has pretty bad rawhide zones, and I highly recommend to use these ARTIAN elemental switch X's because elemental hit zones are pretty stable. They always like 20, and they are doing the very decent damage with them. Yeah, so now I showed you the best possible combinations to raw weapons, which you can see here, which is Meta Power. It's this switch X, and also the ARTIAN elemental switch X, which I showed you currently. About the Meta Power X, as you can see here, the reinforcement bonuses and skills you have rolled, like I showed you, power prolonger with handicraft, either power or crit boost 2 and crit boost 3. Yes, and this is the ARTIAN elemental switch X, which has up to 80 element on the sword. So if I'm not wrong, the element is capped at 75 or so. It is your maximum base element plus 350. So it is 40 plus 35 is 75. So in X you didn't reach the cap, but in sword mode, when you get a 45% multiplier, you will reach the cap. So this is capped to 75 in this case. Just one note, if you're using the ARTIAN elemental switch X, doesn't make sense to go for crit element or so, because you already reached the cap. You can't do more elemental damage. Yes, so this is a comparison. So as you can see, there these are the weapon skills, like you can read yourself. Most weapon skills are pretty garbage. There are only a handful of switch axes which has pretty useful weapon skills, like Shuvu switch axe, which has power prolonger 3 on a power file, which is pretty strong, and also Radhaler switch axe with crit boost 3 on the power file, which is the strongest. So only these two weapons have the very useful skills. There are a bunch of switch axes, like 80% of all the switch axes has pretty useless weapon skills, unfortunately. These are the different decos. Please make sure that the deco sizes are different. Like for the Doshakuma switch axe also has 2 level 3 slots. So we can better walk with the switch axe, and it's pretty nice to see this here. Pretty unexpected. As you can see on the first deco, most time we are just going to max out power prolonger first, or elemental attack, and then on the rest of the decos going more into handicraft, keeping up white sharpness up to 50 hits, or going for critical boost if you maybe have already a lot of white sharpness. Main problem with the switch axes are the entire, I don't want to say meta, but entire MOV is pretty messed up, because all the elemental files has pretty bad sharpness, and also in general all the switch axes has pretty useless weapon skills. So that's why we have a little bit of mess here, and it's going to be a little bit complicated when it goes to best elemental switch axe or what else. This is the DPS of the full release slash combo. So not only the full release slash, all the combos to charge the sword meter up again. Also these moves are also included here, so also X attacks included, and this is only for the sword stats. Yes, the power axe has 300 true raw with 0 element, and this is our reference to all the other weapons. So there's only one situation where elemental switch axe is stronger than the best possible raw switch axe. It's the Rathaler switch axe, and the main reason is because it has critical boost 3 as weapon skill, which no other switch axe has, and that's why it absolutely peak and outperforms the other ones. So you can go for crit boost 5 and also increase your elemental attack. You can also go for maxed out power prolonger and also increase your elemental attack. Yeah, it's to level 2. These are the best possible combinations. You can check the spreadsheet why these are exactly the best ones. It has like 40 element on sword, considering you're only running level 2 elemental attack, and in all this scenario it is 0.14% stronger than the meta power switch axe. 0.1%. Okay, that's a joke. Okay, but as you can see, 12% from this weapon is coming from its element, so not that high as in Sunbreaker, but it's pretty average compared to the other switch axes. Yes, so in this case, if a monster has fire weakness, you can go for Rathaler switch axe. Now it gets a little bit more complicated. For the next elements, we have Doshakuma and Shu switch axe. Doshakuma, so you can also use Gormagala. Gormagala has a huge chunk of white sharpness, but you need power prolonger on the Gormagala X level 3 to keep up a good amp up time, and Gormagala switch axe has pretty bad raw, I think only like 200 flat, and Doshakuma has 50 true raw more, and this is insane. 50 true raw more, and like you can see here, we are ending up having 287 true raw, which is the highest true raw from all the switch axes at all, which aren't modded. And also the element attack on the sport mode is crazy, it's almost 60. So this is a pretty strong switch axe, and only 1.1% weaker than the meta power axe. 17% of the damage, which is a lot, is coming in the sword mode from the element. So in X mode this is 0%, because the element doesn't get applied in the X mode, but so as average you can say like it's 9 or 10%, depending on the amount of X attacks or sword attacks you do. Yeah, main thing is you have to, the only problem is on Doshakuma switch axe, no worries about power prolonger or so, because it's very easy to charge up a Dragonfire. It is absolutely a joke. If you've seen the ARTIAN run, only thing to have to consideration is just increase much as handicraft as possible as you can to get the white 50 hits of white and then going into element. Also, Shuvu switch X is the elemental attack is a bit of a joke because you only get like 26 elemental attack if optimized, which is the lowest value here in this entire table. But we have Power Prolonger 3 already on the switch X, and it's a very high advantage, which makes them better than the ARTIAN elemental switch X's. So we can focus more maxing out critical boost. Also, this weapon has pretty high raw, more than the ARTIAN elemental switch X, so 40 true raw more than the ARTIAN, and yes, almost as much as the Meta Para X. So we're only doing 1.1% less DPS than the Meta Para switch X. And 8.6% of our damage is coming from the element, which is a very low value. So if a monster has a high water weakness, in this case it's maybe better to go for the ARTIAN elemental switch X. Yes. So next time for the priority is, as you can see, we also have Fulgor and Hirabami switch X here. Hirabami has a lot of white sharpness, but the problem is the raw is pretty bad, and also the element is pretty bad. So it only has like 20 ice attack, which is pretty bad, and also the weapon skill is entire garbage. Not even crit element, or that's in any way can increase for a very single % our DPS. So no DPS skill here. So that's the reason the weapon skill is entire garbage. Yes, so as you can see, Hirabami and Fulgor are pretty bad in comparison. It's like 8 or 9% less DPS, which is a lot compared to all the other switch X's. So they are pretty outstanding here. For Fulgor Anjanath, this had a pretty bad sharpness, so you had to focus on getting the 50 hits of white sharpness. And then still pretty bad, so 10 DPS less than all the other weapons, or even more. And for the Hirabami switch X, elemental damage output is too low considering it's elemental file. Also like 12 or 13 DPS less than the other ones. So in these cases I recommend, if you want, you can still use these switch X's, but they are a little bit uncomfy. Considering on the Fulgor there isn't even Power Prolonger, as you can see. In this case it would be better to use the ARTIAN elemental switch X, which is only 3% less DPS than the Meta switch X, and does a ton of, it also hits the elemental cap in SWAT mode. In this case I would prefer to go for ARTIAN. So let's summarize everything. If the monster has the fire weakness, you can definitely go for the Rattler switch X, which is the strongest switch X in the game, which isn't the ARTIAN switch X. If a monster has water weakness, you should go for the Shuvu switch X, which is pretty strong because of the Power Prolonger onboard skill and crit boost 5 you can hit with this weapon. If a monster has dragon weakness, you should go for Doshaguma, or you can also go for Gormagala, depending on how much you want to do sharpening or going into the end state. So it's a little bit, yes, your own decision, but I personally prefer Doshakuda because I got a lot of very fast clear times. Yes, and if the monster has ice or thunder weakness, you can use either the off-meta Fulgor and Hirabami switch X, or you go to for ARTIAN switch X elemental with full focus on the elemental reinforcements. Okay, that's it with the video. In the following up videos I maybe go a little bit more into more niche skills or so, but that's it with the video. Thanks a lot for watching, see you next time.